Hi, this is Tom Hoskins for Mining Journal. I'm here with Mark Selby, who's the chairman and CEO of Canada Nickel Company, which is a Canada Venture Exchange listed junior that's developing the Crawford nickel-cobalt sulphide discovery in the renowned Timmins mining camp in Ontario. Hi, Mark. How's it going?
Hey, Tom, how are you? Very good, thanks.
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Good to have you with us. So you've had quite a big month news-wise. You just announced at the beginning of March that you've got a 9.9% cornerstone investment from Anglo American and raised a total of $46 million. What does this investment mean for Canada Nickel Company?
Yeah, so first off, the investment by Anglo American is a tremendous endorsement for the company and the Crawford project itself. We're the first of a new generation of bulk tonnage nickel sulfide projects to get a major mining company investment. So I think a lot of investors, should take some comfort that, Anglo Americans decided to place one of their few chips in with us. And then in terms of the overall capital raise, we're at the point now where we're one-third the way through permitting. We're on track to deliver a feasibility study this year. This keeps us well financed, well into 2024 and allows us, to push the project forward, to a goal of having permits by mid-2025 and into production by the end of 2027.
Thanks, Mark. So as we've mentioned, your flagship project is Crawford. How have you been able to go from your fifth hole in September 2019, when you started the company, to a feasibility study expected later this year? So that's less than 4 years.
Yeah, no, we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. I'm very fortunate that I've a great team that I get to work with. For three key reasons. One, our team was involved in a similar project called Dumont, just east of where we're working across the border in the province of Quebec. And we took that from a resource stage right through to fully permitted and construction ready. And there's been very few of those projects in Canada. So we're fortunate to have a team that knows what they're doing and has gone down this path once before. Secondly, these types of deposits, one of the big advantages of them is they're large disseminated ore bodies. And what that allows you to do is, one, basically have wider space drilling than you would need if you're trying to drill a gold vein. So that means a lot less capital and you can get it done a lot faster to define a very large resource base. And then three, we've been very focused on parallel processing. The market is desperate for low carbon sources of nickel, for the middle part of this decade. And by basically, starting in parallel in terms of resource drilling, PEA, permitting, and then feasibility study, we've compressed this time frame down to the point where, we're looking to have permits in less than 6 years after that fifth drill hole. Most companies take almost twice or three times that long to get to the same milestone. So again, from an investor perspective, that means a lot less capital and a much better return given the time frame on that capital that we are using.
Understood. Thank you, Mark. So just broadening the conversation out now, because in addition to Crawford, you've been talking this year about a number of other projects in what you call the Timmins Nickel District. So these projects like Texmont and Reed, maybe you can tell us a bit about those and what the Timmins Nickel District means for investors.
Sure. So it's great to make Crawford on its own is the fifth largest nickel sulfide discovery ever and the largest nickel sulfide discovery since the early 1970s. What's great about these types of deposits is they're hosted in rock that spontaneously absorb CO2. And so a few years ago, when we realized Crawford, was going to become a real project, is we looked around Timmins and realized we have a very distinct geophysical footprint that we're looking for. And we used the provincial data to identify nearly 20 targets. We did more than 27 transactions over the last two years to pull together this 20 target set of properties, 10 of which are larger footprint than our original Crawford discovery. And so, both Texmont and Reed, are really exciting. Reed, we've delineated a mineralized footprint with just 16 holes. It's already 90% of what we have at Crawford, and the overall target footprint we have is nearly double what we have at Crawford. Texmont is a smaller past producing target that we just picked up, and we actually just closed the acquisition of earlier this week. we put out some great intervals about a month ago. What we're looking there is for the opportunity to have a small scale open pit operation, because it was a past producer. If the drilling plans out that we've done, we think we've got the potential to bring this into production by 2025. Again, getting more nickel units into the market, which are desperate for good, safe, low carbon nickel units from this part of the world. In terms of the district as a whole, again, given the footprint that we've got 5 million tons of contained nickel in all categories at Crawford. The 42 square kilometers of targeted physical footprint that we've got, would, basically, even with just a fraction of converting that footprint into resource base, would allow us potentially to have a resource base larger than what's been established in Sudbury. That really is the scale of what we're looking at in Timmins, and we're going to work through unlocking that through the course of the year.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Interesting. I'm just going to turn to the carbon footprint side of the work you're doing now. You started this year announcing that you're going to incorporate IPT carbonation into the feasibility study for the project, and that you had potential to store almost 1 million tons of CO2 per year. Can you tell us about how this process works and why you wanted to include it in the feasibility study?
Yeah, so these large bulk tonnage ultramafic deposits, we really believe are going to be, the new source of nickel going forward for consumers, who don't want really high carbon Chinese controlled nickel that's being produced in Indonesia. And our in-process tailings carbonation is basically taking this carbonation potential to the next level. In my past project and other projects that that have this that are hosted in this ultramafic rock, we've historically looked at what's called passive tailings carbonation. So after the tailings are deposited, in a tailings facility, looking for ways to have more CO2 picked up from the air from those tailings. What we realized last summer is that inject a high strength CO2 stream, into the material as it's going through the mill, you can pick up a very large quantity of CO2 and do it in a much, we're talking about hours as opposed to months and years. And so our belief, the test work that we've done so far, and we're pushing along and seeing very successful results, we believe we'll get to the point where we can capture and store almost 20 tons of CO2 per ton of nickel produced, and which would lead to almost 1 million tons of CO2 storage capacity per year. The reason we wanted to incorporate it in the feasibility study is last year the Canadian government introduced a bunch of very comprehensive incentives along carbon capture and storage, for the country to achieve its carbon storage goals. And so for carbon capture and storage facility, there are tax credits available from the government that would basically give you a cash refund of anywhere from 37.5% to 60% of your invested capital. And so if we can think of our process plant as a CO2 storage facility that also happened to produce a little bit of nickel and cobalt, or the 5th largest amount of nickel-cobalt, nickel and sulphide in the world, and also produce an iron chrome product, then we think, that's we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of savings right off at the beginning of the initial part of the project, which, would have a profound impact on the economics. So it just seemed to us a no-brainer, to take a little more time with the feasibility study and build that into the base case.
Understood. Thank you, Mark. And yeah, we've nearly come to the end of our time today, but I just want to talk a little bit about the coming months. You've obviously had a really busy start to the year. What else can investors expect to see from your company, news flow wise, over the balance of 2023?
Yeah, so it's been a good start. We're going to appoint debt project finance advisors. We already have advisors with Scotiabank and Deutsche Bank for the equity portion of the capital we'll need to build the project. We'll be putting out a Texmont resource and PEA on, again, that small scale open pit restart that we I think have a lot of potential. We'll continue to step around our regional properties and so again really unlock what we think will be one of the world's largest nickel sulphide districts. And then we will be putting out a feasibility study later this year, which we think will demonstrate the robust economics that we think Crawford has the potential to deliver.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much indeed, Mark, for that whistle-stop tour of Canada Nickel Company. That's all we have time for today, but it just remains for me to thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, and thanks for the opportunity.
No problem at all, and hopefully see you again soon. But for now, that concludes this video for Mining Journal. Goodbye.